SnortBucks Kaffee-Bier heißt Sie willkommen zum Snortfest. Beginnend bei das salzige Schwein, Schweinebraterei. Und breitete sich auf Dutzende von SnortBucks Salzbierzelten aus. Snortfest sind 3 Wochen Trinken, Essen und gute altmodische Ausschweifungen. Machen Sie mit. SnortBucks. Willkommen bei Salt.
This is what I do. I infect hope and inspire folk by painting pictures with a better view. My soul is weatherproof, my mind can shapeshift. Divine greatness runs in bloodlines still ancient. Expansive universes embedded in bars, reflected in stars, eyes shining with the breath in my heart. That's why my flow's complete. It's flawed, yeah, raw energy exposed for the whole globe to see. Yeah, you know it's me, I'm back at it again. Elevating the bar, haters will never get in. This is a sacred place where we embrace creation through landscape shaped and painted in a vacant space. You still never know, never know. You still never know, never know.
All right back at it. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the newsroom and welcome to the Goutopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report. This is the Snort Report brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company, as well as Hard Snorts Gin and Tonic, that toxic flavor that'll never waver. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. All right, so where are we going today? We're gonna we're gonna go to an individual who says they don't watch a lot of detractor content, and I believe him to an extent. But he does keep up with the Gout universe in an interesting twist of fate, if you will. I had seen another detractor actually have the video, but I wanted to see it at the source because I was kind of curious on how that conversation came about, and I'm kind of glad I watched it that way because it gave me a better understanding of why this conversation came up the way it did. Anyway, so we are here, ladies and gentlemen, with SomeOrdinaryPodcast. This is Mutahar's podcast with Nux, and Keemstar was a guest on it. I will have a link to the actual podcast itself down in the description. You guys take a look at it yourself. It's basically them cooking DSP, but it's a little bit more than that. It also gives us, at least I think, because I don't think it's the full details, but it gives us a bit more insight to the deal that Keemstar was offering DSP, and some of the other things that involved. He talks about not just the 50,000 that we all knew about. Excuse me, that was a sign-on bonus. But then he talks about how profits and everything were going to be cut up, or at least percentages of the show, I should say. Which I'll go ahead and just say it now. DSP was going to get a fourth of it. Everybody was going to basically get a quarter of the show. Keem, Boogie, Wings, and DSP. Each one of them would get a quarter of the show. And I'm pretty confident he said the show was going to be like once a week or whatnot. How they were going to keep that up once a week for a year, not sure. But I'll clown about that when we get in. Yet again, another unique opportunity where DSP could have made himself some money. He could have raised his profile and done some other things to try to clean up his act and try to prove that he's more than a lolcow, quote unquote, and failed at it miserably because he couldn't get over the most basic labels that were put onto him. But more importantly than that, it's the label that he's done everything in his power, even to this very day, to live up to. And I think that's what it comes down to. He definitely didn't want to slum for Keemstar, but even more than that, he thinks, oh, well, what do I need you for? I'll just see if I can get, if I can line myself up with these guys later, and we could do a podcast on our own and have all the money. Not without somebody's money and someone else's push. Boogie's broke. Wings is, for all intents and purposes, broke. So it sounds. And you've been broke. You know what I'm saying? As soon as money comes into your hooves, it immediately slips out. So none of you have any of the backing. None of you really have enough publicity. There's no reason for the Boogie haters, the Wings haters, and DSP's detractors to sit there and try to come together to bring all this up to make this bubble up or simmer into an uproar, because there's no incentive to do so. It's easier just to keep them all separated and laugh at them individually until someone else with a better business acumen brings the three of them together. And that's where that's where the failure is coming into play. Now, I am not completely out of the loop in that supposedly Wings and Boogie are in talks, or they're trying to have a podcast set up, but supposedly there's an actual manager in that, meaning, there's someone that has to kind of corral the cows together to make all this shit happen. And I think that's one of the things that DSP doesn't see. But according to Wings, I saw that in a Lummox video. I saw part of it in a Lummox video, and I think Breaking Banquet, someone that I'm not even familiar with, but I've watched a little bit of his content, it's pretty good, has kind of been flushing out that these guys are trying to start a podcast, and at least Wings supposedly has been talking to DSP behind the scenes to try to work something out. We'll see where that goes. Because I don't have a whole lot of faith in that. But anywho, let's just go ahead and get into the situation itself. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, and we'll have fun with it and see what's what. But yet again, another opportunity that was wasted because of DSP's ego and the concept of turning lemons into lemonade. For DSP is just too much work. It's too much work, and he doesn't like the idea that someone else is going to get a piece of what he's doing without allowing them to get a piece. And I think that's what bothers him the most. He didn't care that he was going to get 50 grand and then he was going to get a piece of the profits each and every week. It's still Keemstar. It's still the show's name itself. I don't really like these two guys really anyway, so why should I be corralled with them? I'm better than them. He let his ego get in his way. And it's that type of failure which will endure essentially for the rest of his life. So, it's well deserved, because he fought hard to not only to do it, but to justify it, to maintain it. He's never wanted to try to do better or be better than what he is, when you already think you're on top of the world anyway. No one's perfect. Myself included. I'll be the first one to tell you, no one's perfect. But no one's also above help. No one is above criticism. But anyway, if he's addicted to begging, and he may have a humiliation fetish too. Maybe not to the extent of like a flamenco, but he definitely likes being humiliated. He don't see it. For those of you who say he has pride, or who you think, I'll say some of you think he has pride. How much pride does a man have going on the internet and begging each and every day? Tell me. Because you can't lie to yourself and say that it's his gameplay that brings people in. If he's not ranting, if he's not talking shit about somebody else, he's begging. And those are the only real draws that he has. That's essentially it. If you're somebody that's if you're part of his audience, you fall for the sympathy all you want. Or you tried to weaponize it and say, oh, I'm standing with Phil. And whatnot. Hashtag stand with Phil. Or I stand with DSP, or whatever you want to call it. Thinking that you're getting over on other people, but you're not. And matter of fact, one of the DSP's pay pigs was over there on a Wings podcast, I think. I kind of want to see what that's about too. And see if there's anything even out of that. But no one's above it. No one, especially not in this day and age. No one's above anything. Like I said, don't be surprised when internet welfare becomes a thing. I don't know how people turned 6-figure income, or how DSP at the very least, but Wings too, and Boogie. I don't know how these people turn 6-figure incomes into just another low wage job. I don't know how they did it. They did, but I don't know how they did it. And for those of you who will more than likely say, hey, Boogie, he gambled wrong, yada, 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 listening to McNuggets or whatever that guy's name was, maybe you should do your own research, especially when it comes to that amount of money. You know what I'm saying? Or Mr. McJuggerNut, whatever his name is. Whatever that dude's name is. He should have done his own research. You know what I'm saying? That's how friendships get fucked up. A friend can bring an opportunity to you, a good one. You should probably still look into it though yourself. You shouldn't just jump on this opportunity because of whatever. You know? But everybody wants to keep up with the Joneses, and someone usually pays the price. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, I don't smell no bacon cooking, so let's go ahead and get into that. And I'll see you guys in just a second. Oh, that's unfortunate.
I think it's wild seeing you talk so positively about somebody that's like been on your just somebody that you're not on good terms with you. Like it used to be years ago or even now with Nux. It's like when somebody wrongs Keem, you make it a personal mission to shit on their mouth till the end of time.
Yeah,
well,
but the big
that's
difference
what makes
is
it.
Keem and I are actually friends, while Keem and iDubbbz actually hate each other.
I've kind of moved.
It's funny how it works out like that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are big ups to Diggs, by the way, who not only brought this to me, but cut it up and all that nice stuff for me and yada, yada, yada. But this is essentially, the Some Ordinary Podcast. This is from February 23rd of 2023. The link will be down in the description. Hunting UFOs and controversy with Keemstar. Add drama alert. And this is episode 62, just for the record. Like I said, the link to the actual podcast itself will be down in the description. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right, let's hear what these fellas got to say.
I think it's wild seeing you talk so positively about somebody that's been on your just somebody that you're not on good terms with you. Like it used to be years ago or even now with Nux. It's like when somebody wrongs Keem, you make it a personal mission to shit on their mouth till the end of time.
Yeah,
Well,
but the big
that's
difference
what makes
is
it.
Keem and I are actually friends, while Keem and iDubbbz actually hate each other.
Oh, a bit of context. I can understand why Diggs cut it out, but I can actually explain what they're actually kind of talking about leading into what you guys are actually here for. Keem was talking about iDubbbz and his wife's boxing organization, and how Keem hasn't talked to iDubbbz in quite some time. Maybe some text messages back and forth, but nothing serious. But he says he talks to iDubbbz's wife at least once a month, and he says that he's very happy for them and their boxing organization or whatever the case may be, and but he has some criticisms of it. But he has a lot of praise for it too, and he just tries to give them constructive criticism when he sees fit. And sometimes they can handle the criticism, sometimes they can't. Also, Sam Hyde fights under Keemstar's organization, and as you know, for those of you who care, I should say, iDubbbz and Sam Hyde have been beefing back and forth for a good amount of time now. And but the main point is Keem is like, hey, I'm happy for them, and so on and so forth. I have criticisms though. That's not anything that you should take personally. It's just something Keem's not saying, fuck you guys ain't shit. He's just saying, hey, I think you guys have a good product, and I'd like to see you guys get better. That's all Keem was basically trying to say. And that's, I think, what leads into the DSP situation, where Keem talks about, I've grown as a person. I'll have my say-sos about that in a minute, but that's what kind of actually started, I think what led into the Darksydephil was the fact that they were speaking on iDubbbz and his boxing organization and saying that he just wants to see people do well. You know, the days of trying to hunt people down for saying shit is whatever. He's grown up. He's gotten older. He's matured a little bit. Not in the way that DSP talks, because just DSP is just talking. He's really not any more different than he was 10 years ago, except for he found a better way to con people. But here, let me not, screw you guys over. You can hear it for yourself.
Moved from being Keemstar, the YouTuber, an entertainer who makes content, and I'm more in like a, I'm older now, and I was supposed to retire last March. We're coming up on a year when I was supposed to retire, and I kind of in a way did retire, because what I'm doing behind the scenes now is like building up fighters and Happy Punch and setting up boxing matches, working with new talent and managing them and helping them in their careers. Like what I've done now and over the last year is really focused on building up other creators, giving them advice, giving them my knowledge and what I've learned through this experience, being a content creator for fucking 10 years and whatnot. So it's like I don't really have the same someone's talking shit, it's time to respond, it's time to shit on them. It's just, that's kind of gone now.
Well, I think one of the more important things about it too is I'm going to bring you back out of retirement. I'm going to talk about
so you can kind of see where Keem's coming from with that, where he's like, he doesn't have to, I'm not on the attack anymore. I've grown up. I want to see people do well. I've got all these different businesses going on, real businesses where, I can actually help build people up instead of tearing them down, whatever the case may be. Or let me reword that. Keem has gone from building his own platform on tearing people down to now using his platform to try to build people up. That sounds a bit better. Maybe not. But that's essentially what he's shooting for. He's done everything right for the most part as it pertains to business. He's made his money. He's invested his money. He has created shit. He was able to sell it for even more money than what it was worth, so on and so forth. Has he made enemies along the way? Everybody's going to. No one's going to walk into any successful business or any field or any sector and not make some enemies, whether you meant to or not. But this is what he wants to try to do now, because he wants to see everything that he's built up actually go and help somebody else. Now, do I believe completely in the nice guy act bullshit? No. Keemstar's about making money. And Keemstar likes publicity. So if he can help develop 10 people, and if 6 of them can get over, and he makes a boatload of money off of all of it, as well as keep his name relevant, then that's what's going to happen. The difference is Keem doesn't mind sacrificing a little bit of the spotlight for long-term gains. Darksydephil doesn't fall into that category because it's too stupid. He has spent so much time wanting to have all of the fame up front and then all of the behind the scenes power, which he never had really much of either one. The concept or the idea of collaborating with someone else and sharing in those prospects or those elements, if you will, and then you put money into that too, that it makes Phil sick. It disgusts him. Look at what he did to fucking John and Howard. And I don't care what anybody says, ladies and gentlemen, Howard didn't get all or Howard didn't get any money, by the way. We all know that. But John didn't get his cut. He wasn't handsomely paid. It wasn't the 50-50. Time will tell. But, because you give DSP enough rope, he'll hang himself. It wasn't the 50-50 split that DSP says it was. Speaking of which, this is supposed to be in my TED Talk. My fault. A question that, I was asked a few videos ago. Well, I guess a few videos ago, depending on when this comes out, is, have I been deleting videos, or has anybody here been deleting videos? No. I'm sure I've talked about this before for at least the last 4 years, not longer than that. Videos have been blocked, or there was a couple of videos that got taken down. We had to fight to get them back up. Situations like that. So that's really what it comes down to. I don't delete my videos, nor does anybody else here do. Just don't do it. If they get taken down, they get taken down. If they get blocked in countries because of the music I use, they'll get blocked. It is what it is, essentially. There's 3 different playlists, though, that has, all of the stuff in it. You can take a look in there, and the catalog for the most part's intact. But if there's a particular video that you're looking for that you can't seem to find, you know what I'm saying? Leave a comment, and someone will try to hunt it down if they can. But no, we don't delete videos here. We've had videos deleted though, and like I said, we've had a lot of videos blocked. But no, we don't delete videos here. So, you know, but I appreciate the question though. But no videos have been deleted or anything like that. All right, here we go.
That's been in the game as long as you. One that's coming to my attention recently. You remember DSP Gaming?
Dude, that goddamn moron.
Thank you, bro. I saw a clip of him last night, dude. Okay, this guy is the wild. So he made like a React channel and like everything imaginable. And this is the same guy that's like, I'm not gonna play Minecraft because babies play. Proceeds to play fucking Minecraft. I'm not gonna talk about drama because drama, but like conveniently, you know, just gets into whatever spat he wants.
Yeah.
And then now he's like into React channels and everything. It's, dude, his whole story is so fucking. So I've been reading up on this motherfucker, and it's like the dude had like a straight up gambling addiction. So like this one fucking game, WWE or something. It was some mobile crap, right? Like some gotcha shit. And like the dude is literally like hundreds of thousands of dollars gone down the fucking drain, like just insane. And it's like I've never seen somebody so leechy off their fan base. Like every day that I see this guy go up on stream, it's like 200 viewers average, and it's always like, hey guys, I'm not seeing my fucking tips go rise. Okay, y'all better fucking make this money go. It's like literally just financial domination. Like the dude is not a gaming streamer; it's a financial dominant streamer, and it's like, what is the end goal there? Like, I just don't get it, because it's like, you had this whole podcast idea with them, him, Wings, and Boogie, right? And you gave them each like a 50, or offered a 50K signing bonus. No one took you up on it.
Yeah, can I talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be funny. All right, so back to what he was saying about the gambling addiction, which we all know. WWE champions, we all know. Even though he also had a gambling addiction to WWE Supercard, and then who knows as it pertains to what other video games he's playing behind the scenes, or what other mobile games that he's also tanking money in. Don't have a clue. We just know that WWE Champions he's sunk a lot of money in it, but who knows what he's thrown other money in as it pertains to other games behind the scenes. So, and you can't expect anybody who's not like completely in tune with what goes on a day-to-day basis, if not even a weekly basis, to have all the details. So you can forgive a lot of the situation if you think about it, because not everybody's going to be able to get it. It is what it is. But he's on the right track. But as it pertains to what people see on the day-to-day, when they show up to a Darksydephil stream, and he says, oh, well, you know, people give me an opportunity all the time. People give me a chance. It's the fucking detractors, trolls, haters, and critics that are always, you know, painting me in this negative light. Well, if Mutahar has showed up over there, or anybody else has showed up over to your podcast, or the Bottom Bitch podcast, really, but to your fucking streams, and that's one of the first things they hear, and this is a conclusion that he's come up to, what does that say about you? Don't worry about this supposed outside element that is cock blocking you from all financial advancement. What about you? What about how you conduct yourself? You don't see a problem with that begging segment? You did with Moist Critical when you thought you could get something from him. Once that was thrown out the window, then all of a sudden you ain't changed your tune, and you just slowly but surely slimed your way back on your pig grease right back into the trough that you're known for being in. No one put you there, you put yourself there. And truth be told, as I said before, he's addicted to begging. I think he needs it, because he was in a real bad way, however long it was. A month, 6 weeks, 2 months, however long it was that he tried to stop begging. He was in a really bad way. It looked like, I'll be honest with you, because why not? He looked like he was going through withdrawal. He looked antsy. He looked nervous. He looked sick. He looked sick. So I'm not surprised that he went right back to it, especially once, and truth be told, even if Moist Critical had given him the platform, As soon as DSP had gotten what he wanted out of that situation, he had gone right back to begging anyway. It didn't matter. Remember, advertising's how DSP is how DSP advertises. That's business. It's not begging, it's business. That's how he promotes himself. And he's been doing it his whole time on YouTube. If it wasn't for money, it was for views. Pure and simple. Like, how else was he going to stop after he's been doing it for so goddamn long? You know what I'm saying? The guy's a junkie. Truth be told. You may not want to hear it, or you may not want to hear it the way I say it, but that don't make it any less true. You just don't stop cold turkey. Just like his supposed alcoholism that he got over. Yeah, fuck all that. That dude's been an alcoholic probably since his 20s. Especially early. And he never stopped. Just like King Cobra. The moment King Cobra was of age to start drinking, that's all he did. And now he's a full-blown drunk. He can't stop. Even if he wanted to, he can't. And I'm telling you, he's drinking probably more off camera, meaning King Cobra, than what he is drinking on camera. And he thinks he's being smart, or he thinks he's smart, or he thinks he's clever, and he's getting over on people. The only person you're ever getting over on is yourself. You're only hurting yourself. At the end of the day, a lol cow is going to produce milk no matter what. So you can go ahead and tear yourself up off camera, and it's going to eventually reflect what happens on camera. And that's, yet again, another trait that lol cows never figured out. You're not beating anybody but yourself. That's why everybody keeps laughing at you. That's why there's all these different speaking social groups, I should say, about you on all these different platforms and whatnot. There's a reason why you're a laughingstock. And you'll never be able to change it. And even if you wanted to, you still couldn't. Because you'll always revert back to what you're known for. To what's comfortable to you. And that's what people don't understand. And even people like Rich, who has slid himself right into it, because why not? Because he can't fight it. He can't win. It still irritates him. Don't let him talk to you and say that, oh, I'm more comfortable with it and I get it, and I don't take it to heart like DSP. Every once in a while, there's someone on that stream that throws something at him that hits way too close to home, and he has a hard time trying to keep himself composed. So don't get it. So don't fall for his nonsense either. He's still wrestling with it.
So a quick backstory about DSP to add more to it is this guy for years and years and years has hit his fans with, I'm not going to be able to pay rent, guys. I don't know what I'm going to do. I really need your help. I'm clocking into work. Obviously, you guys don't like the Paper Mario, so we're doing Sonic Legends today. It's like just like Mutahar said, right?
It's funny because it's true. That's what makes it funny. It's funny because it's true. And this thing that I've seen people on like DSP's side of the coin try to do is like, oh, well, he's consistent. He's there at such and such time and whatnot. He's reliable as it pertains to him showing up or whatever the case may be. What exactly? Maybe I don't compute. He's reliable at what? Showing up to the trough every day at the same time because he has nothing else to do? This is this man's life. Like, let's play separation anxiety for just a second. There is no difference between Phil Burnell and IRL. Excuse me. And then Phil Burnell on the internet. They're the same guy. DSP has merged, if you will, using a Chris Chan reference, right after a Spider-Man reference. DSP has merged the IRL and the internet together into one bubble. DSP has nothing at all. That work-life separation bullshit he used to try to say to you guys, he don't say it anymore because, you can even a fool can only lie to themselves for so long. That doesn't exist. This is his whole life. This is his whole world. And he's lazy and miserable at it. But it's all he has. The real world has nothing for Darksydephil. He has his parents that he's waiting to die. He has cousins and everybody else that he don't speak to. And they're not any use to him anyway, really. He's got his wife / mom in there putting on weight by the day. And I hope, for her sake, in a rare moment of compassion on my part, that she wakes up and really gets herself out of that rut. Because if she ends up getting too big and she can't do nothing, then DSP is going to have to be forced to take care of her. And I know most of you probably think that's funny, but it's really not. It's really not that she ends up putting herself into a situation where she becomes the 2023 version of Jabba the Hutt, and she really can't do anything. And which is only going to cost Darksydephil even more money. Which you would think would motivate him to be like, if he's supposedly working out, he's not, but if he was, he would supposedly have her do it with him. Because he said that she was active. We saw that she was in decent health when she first got there. And then in a few years, she's turned into that? Just so DSP can have his way? Just so she can be comfortable? That's something you guys can take into consideration later. People, yet again, back to DSP's consistency. He doesn't have anything. Besides, like I said, besides the broken wife and the broken fucking cat son, he has nothing. All he has is the internet. His detractors, trolls, haters, and critics are probably more family to him than the very people who live in his dwelling. You get that, right? All of his news and everything comes off Twitter. This idiot is only now really discovering what YouTube is. See, he's used to using YouTube, right, for his gains, for his popularity and everything like that. He didn't care about the real value that it provided. Same thing with his when he was watching other people's playthroughs, just so he could try to have an advantage on whatever playthrough he was playing. And he's been caught doing it, as well as been caught using online guides or whatever. He's only used YouTube for his own benefit. Now he's actually discovering what YouTube is. He's discovering all the content creators. He's discovering all the actual content. You know, the stuff that he was above, that he thought he was so goddamn better than. Now he's starting to really discover it. A platform that he's been on for the better part of 15 years. He's only now starting to discover what it is and what it has and what it could offer him, which is much more than him collecting ad revenue. He spent so much time tearing YouTube down that now he realizes the value that it actually has, and now is trying to suckle at it. Let that sink in. He had, outside of what I've just said, there is no life for Darksydephil. There is nothing else. That's why on his days off, ladies and gentlemen, after whatever misadventures of Darkside Pig that's going on in that house, you know what I'm saying? And Horse Girl and Declawed Cat, like some gouty Avengers or what? Sorry, but whatever. Not sorry, but I'm not sorry actually. But whatever you want to call it, he's back home watching other people's playthroughs, reading Kiwi Farms, watching detractor content. He doesn't have a life outside of this. So when DSP tosses the word around about losers and this, that, and the third, or whatever, he's really talking about himself, because he has nothing else. How does he find the time to watch all this content and be so envious of all these people? How does he find the time to do that if he's supposedly having a loving relationship with his wife? And if he loved his wife so damn much, why would you let her put on all that weight? And if it's something medically wrong, why aren't you taking her to the doctor or whatever the case may be? Now, granted, even in my absence, even in my time off the court, I've heard other people say, oh, yeah, he's always talking about he has a doctor's appointment here, or they have something they need to do here, whatever. So someone has clearly needed some type of actual medical attention in some way, shape, or form. My question to you, ladies and gentlemen, was it him or was it her? These are where the problems come into play if you sit down and you really listen to the dumb shit he says. But a lot of it's fragmented too. So thank God for your clipping channels, your SnortBucks, your Aquatails, and all of that, right? All that shit is fragmented. So it might take a couple of weeks to put all of this shit together to formulate all this. Well, for some people. For smart people, we'll probably get it right away. At least for me anyway, it took a little while. So there you go. That's what it comes down to. So when you have someone like Keemstar who tries to come in and pierce that bubble, pierce his world, if you will, he doesn't know how to fucking act. And Keemstar doesn't have to take a knee to him, or feels a need to kind of fall over himself to accommodate Darksydephil. It don't work that way. So that right there in itself is the first problem. Oh, well, if you're coming to me, that means I'm in demand, which means that you're going to do everything I want on my time. Oh, just like how when Phil requested the services of that realtor back in Connecticut to sell his condo, but DSP was too lazy to pick up the phone and have a 5-minute conversation to, just to get some details ironed out, and ended up having the damn thing going into fucking bankruptcy or foreclosure. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's easy shit like that, but it's an inconvenience for Darksydephil. It disrupts his world. And in DSP's world, $50,000 for most of us, I think all of us really, is a nice chunk of change. Either you can use that money right away or that bitch can get banked. But for DSP, that $50,000 comes with different commitments that he don't want to do. And then that $50,000 keeps him from going ahead and scamming these people back here. If it was done quietly, then maybe something could have happened. Maybe some arrangements could have been made. But since it's being made out publicly, which Wings and Boogie would have ended up blowing the top off that bitch anyway, then now DSP has a problem. He don't want to do anything about it. Just like how you guys saw with Keemstar and with Rich and the situation with the computer. If Rich never said anything about that on his own platform, DSP might have taken that computer and just sat on it. He may have done that. I can't say that with a level of certainty, but he might have. But when Rich made it public, smart move on Rich's part, then all of a sudden that fucked the scheme up. And then those multiple weeks of talking about parts and different components and how this, that, and the third, it went nowhere. He talked himself into circles. And he couldn't convince anybody to really take the plunge. Buying you a laptop is one thing. Buying a $3,000 PC, I think is what DSP wanted, is something completely different. And DSP doesn't want to buy... He doesn't want to put together that PC. He wants it already made. So they could have just gotten him a pre-build and saved themselves the trouble and the money. But this right here is what actually encompasses DSP's world. That's what the situation is. He doesn't want to deal with other people. And when he gets desperate enough, that'll be different. But you'll see how insincere he is. You'll hear how insincere he is when that happens.
Guy, all right, is like the biggest leech on the fucking internet, right?
100%.
And recently, I want to say like maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, he started talking shit about me, like just out of the blue. Someone mentioned Keemstar in his chat, right? And he just goes on this fucking rant. I don't like Keemstar. He does nothing but this drama stuff, and he's bad, and just drama this and drama that. And I'm like, I barely even know this guy. So I start like going through the Drama archives to figure out like, did I ever talk about him on Drama? Why is he so mad at me, right? And sure enough, there was this incident where he left his fucking stream on and he was beating his and it went viral, right?
Wait,
like,
Nux, have you seen that? You saw that, right?
What?
Brother, okay, I'm gonna paint the picture for you without playing the video. So this game Neo came out, you know Neo, right?
Yeah.
And Dark Souls. Okay.
And then, funny enough, I have to point this out. For some of these larger guys who are a bit more conscious, I guess, about Darksydephil, they always do this. They almost always do this. Let me say that. I'm sorry. They almost always do this. They always want to describe the situation instead of putting him out there. Now, I think it's done for two reasons. One, you don't want to give this bitch a fucking platform. You don't want to give Darksydephil any fucking publicity. It's easier just to laugh at him and move on. But secondly, and this is what I kind of wonder, I wonder if this is done out of a form of sympathy. It's funny to laugh at him and everything like that, but when you put it on your platform where you know hundreds of thousands of people are going to see it, it's like, man, and not punching down. Let's not fall for that bullshit. But I feel like they think that would be too much. I think. And it's like, you know what? The guy's already a fucking jerk off. He's already, no pun intended. He's already a fucking loser. He's never going to get himself out of this rut anyway. Do I need to put another nail into the coffin? You know what I'm saying? That's just the way I kind of see it. Especially for the larger content creators who really pull it out, or when they try to describe Darksydephil, everybody knows where to find the video, but no one ever really wants to show the video. And like I said, it's one part, yeah, I'm not going to platform this asshole, we're just going to laugh at him and move on with our conversation. And I think the second part comes out of empathy. I don't know if you can sympathize with him, but they're empathetic to his situation. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, or I've said in the previous video, I don't know if it's out yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if DSP is somewhere on the spectrum. I wouldn't be surprised. Just from some of his earlier stories about how his parents were treating him, it sounds like it. It really do. It really do. And his first, and at least for Darksydephil, as quickly as he angers, and his first response always has to be an insult. He doesn't know how to walk away from anything. Even the smallest slight. I mean, now he's making enemies. Now I think he takes everything as a slight, even if it's not meant to be. Even if it isn't. He makes enemies out of everywhere, and it's a compulsion, but there's more to it than that. And as he's gotten older, it seems to be more pronounced to me. But anyway, but that's just my thoughts on that, because, you know, it'd be easier just to show Nux the video, and I'm sure someone sent it to him later. But I think there's an actual reason why it's not shown, and it's easier just to describe it. That's just my thoughts.
This is like he's starting up a stream, right? And like he puts the camera on, like the camera's still on OBS, and he's just like sitting there beating his meat off, and at one point his head literally goes back like this, like orgasms and shit. And like looks at the OBS screen and he notices the camera's on, and that's it. Like he fucking literally like jerked himself.
And he was doing this. He was like,
Oh my god,
oh, so angry. Phil was so angry. That shit was hella painful. Maybe, and like I said, besides the erectile dysfunction, who knows? Maybe he has a problem where, you know, sex is just maybe physically is uncomfortable for him. I can't say that with a straight face. Fuck him. But yeah, you guys ever, like, you guys have seen it. He looks incredibly angry. You know what I'm saying? Incredibly angry. Like, that's not frustration. That's anger. He beat his dick like they didn't owe him tip money. Woo! He was so angry. He was so angry. Oh my god. I mean, alright, this is gonna be bad, but bear with me. If you've watched enough King Cobra, right? King Cobra has admitted to essentially beating his dick until that shit bled. Like he described at one time, it was all scabbed up and shit. First time I heard it, I thought it was absolutely fucking horrifying. But yet again, that's out of anger. That's not frustration. That's anger. That's anger. And shit, Cobra's been on like a 5-year, I think it's going down to, it's coming up on 6 actually, fucking 6-year drought. You know what I mean? So after that point, that's not frustration. That's just anger. It really is. And yet again, you see some of that in DSP as well. I'm just saying. So much anger.
He went
Oh
super
my
fucking
God.
Saiyan when he came,
honestly,
dude. No
that's,
joke.
That's almost as sad as the quartering peeing in his basement. That's up there. That's one of the greats.
It really appeared, and of course you don't know, but it appeared like there was no cleanup either, which is
No, yeah, he grabs the fucking controller and it's like, all right, let's get the gaming. It's like
what happened? Did you just blow a load like under your desk, like on the bottom of your desk, and just leave it there? Like, what is happening?
Dude, that triggered so much anxiety for me because I'm like, how many times have I went over to some like disgusting gamer house and grabbed the PlayStation controller, not knowing?
So anyhow,
And see, that's even more funny. Come on, gamers, let's get gaming. Come on, kids. That's kind of what DSP did because there was no cleanup whatsoever. But then, right, you got to take this into account how disgusting his office is, and then you talk about how all of his sinus problems and all of that. Then you take in all of the ear infections. Then you take in all of the crazy ass skin infections that he has. It makes sense. The guy lives in squalor. He only bathes once, maybe even twice a week, and that's if he's lucky. So no panty time with Catherine, which makes sense why Catherine might be putting on weight outside of the stress. She doesn't have a way to relieve it. Well, it's Tyrone and everybody else. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? He's a mess. He's a total mess of a person. You put that dude on a podcast, somebody's going to want to call that out. And what I mean, someone's going to want to call that out, I mean someone on the podcast, one of the other members who has a chair there. Why wouldn't they? And that right there is a funny ass laughing point. You know what I'm saying? And that's what, this is a conversation that I had with Proper not too long ago. Like, people can't, not everybody, but most people can't laugh at themselves anymore. We're quick to laugh at everybody else, but we can't laugh at ourselves anymore. There's a lot of shit that I do that you can laugh at. As you should. To be honest with you, as you should. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a matter of being built differently or whatever the case may be. It's just, it's the internet. This is life in general. You can't just go around being mad for the sake of being mad. I mean, you can, but you're not going to really go nowhere with it. You know what I'm saying? You're someone who put your whole entire life on the internet by choice. You got to be able to laugh at shit. And it's going to have to be more than what you're comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? Just like how anybody and everybody can criticize you. Or just outright shit on you. Having thick skin isn't a matter of being able to take an insult and keep moving. Because DSP can't do that. It's being able to laugh at yourself. It's being able to take criticism. Those are the three main components that drive people fucking crazy on the internet. And it only gets worse if you're a lolcow. And the only reason why you're labeled as well, not only reason, but one of the reasons why you're a lolcow is because you couldn't shake it off. You couldn't go with it. You know what I'm saying? And then you probably weren't very good at defending yourself either. So you got fucked. You got proper fucked. And that's what Keem was hoping to do with this lolcow podcast. You bring the three fucking, well, they're not the biggest, Boogie and Wings physically are kind of the biggest lolcows, I guess. No, Amberlynn and Chantel. Amberlynn and Chantel are actually far bigger. Or Foodie Beauty. Did you hear how Foodie Beauty is now like, she essentially tried to have the Kitty Holocaust over there with over there on her fucking shit? You guys got to keep up with that. That's just kind of, well, Tevin. Almighty Tevin, praise be. The next time he holds a stream, I'm sure he may go over the Chantel shit. All I'm going to say is, she literally tried to murder two cats. Two pet cats that she had to cover up her crimes, her war crimes that her and Pete's had been doing in that house. That shit was crazy. I mean, thank God those cats were given away. Or rehomed, as she likes to call it. But that last one, BBJ, I think is the name of that last cat, he was literally within an hour of being euthanized. Or being put down, or however you want to word it. Like, he was that close until Chantel finally decided to give the cat up. And then come to find out in a twist of fate, the person she gave the cat up to was one of her biggest haters online. French Fry Girl, I think is what her name is. It's nuts over there. It's fucking nuts. But anyway, back to what I was saying before. Maybe not the biggest locales online, but you get my drift. But the point of that whole podcast is people are going to want to pop shots at all three of them. That's where the money is. That's where the money is. That's where the viewership's going to be at. And you guys are going to sit there and take it. Because each one of you guys are going to get a piece of the profits. And if you can shake that shit off, right? If you can actually go with it and even clown around amongst yourselves, that could help clean your act up. But I don't think, I mean, Wings has way too much shit on him that I think he can even laugh at. Boogie's a fence sitter, so Boogie is probably the one who's more equipped to deal with all of the nonsense that he's going to bring to the table and actually be able to handle it. And even play as a fucking, not a mentor, but he could be a comfort to Wings and DSP into how to kind of deal with it emotionally in the moment. But DSP definitely wasn't going to be able to take the shots that were going to come down range. At all. At all. And Keem's not going to skip a beat on $1. It can be $1, it can be $10, it can be $100. He going to read it out. And you're going to have to deal. And I think it could have succeeded in the short term. I don't think it'd last in the long term. But even then, that platform, the Lolcow podcast or the Lolcast or whatever he's going to call it, that right there was just going to be a platform to help Keem with all of his other businesses. Because every person who's viewing, detractor, troll, hater, critic, whatever, it's another pair of eyes to watch the other stuff that he's trying to promote. Happy Punch, this other podcast over here, yada, yada, yada. Which is what a podcast is used for in some ways, is to platform other shit. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you have a lot of eyes on it, if you have a lot of attention on it. And that's what DSP don't want, which is ironic because that fucks him over too. Because now any new eyes that you could have had come to watch your shitty fucking content, you can't have. And then, for any of you out there who are Darksydephil fans or cult members or dents or whatever you guys want to be called, I don't care what you want to be called, I'm going to call you whatever I want to call you. But I want you guys to think about that. That could have been a bit of financial relief for you guys too. And yet again, it's another example of DSP, Darksydephil, Darkside Karen, Phil Burnell, not willing to lift a single fucking finger, a single fucking hoof, to make some money outside of bleeding y'all. It's so much easier just to bleed you idiots instead of go out there and get it himself. He taught you, some of you who still talk about consistency and he's here and this, that, and the third, why can't he use any of that and actually go out there and try to do something outside of his own platform? Off of his platform and on somebody else's. Because all that tough talk that he liked to do, all that shit talking he liked to do to other content creators, he's afraid some of that shit's going to come back on him. He goes on this podcast with Keem and those other fellas. What happens if PewDiePie decides to call in? Can't run from that. What if Rich gets an opportunity to really talk to him? He becomes a guest on the show. DSP can't necessarily run away from that. What happens if Markiplier or anybody else who you don't hear talk about DSP, but DSP has taken a shot at one time or another, shows up on that show as a guest? Then there's a problem. So he's not just trying to avoid detractors, he's trying to avoid anybody and everybody else who's willing to not even send an email to Keem. They can get Keem on the phone and be like, hey man, next week, can you fit me in as a special guest? Oh, only like 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah, only like 10 or 15 minutes. Just a little bit of time to speak to the fellas, and I have a question for Darksydephil. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, sure. Shit, hell yeah. You want me to? Yeah, I'll throw in a $100 tip or whatever. Sure, no problem. Easy. Click. See you then. And then there you go. And for 10 minutes, at the very least, someone's gonna have a laugh at Darksydephil's expense, which means everybody else is going to too, and then it's gonna get clipped all the crazy as shit. Which is only going to bring even more publicity to next week's show and whatever the case may be. You see how the cycle of all that was going to go? But as long as you're compensated, especially compensated well, not like how DSP allegedly compensated John, you can live with that. I think most people can. If DSP needs the money the way he says he does, there's no reason why he can't. Right? Right.
Back to the story. So
The
I
hard
reported.
spots in the carpet mean something else now. Yeah.
I reported that story at the time that it happened, and this is the heyday of Drama Alert on YouTube, so it gets like 2 million views or something. That's the most publicity this guy's ever gotten in his fucking career, and it's for him like leaving his stream on and beating his meat, right? So he's mad at me. So I sent him a Twitter video, right? And he's talking all this shit, saying that I'm a loser and all that. I'm like, I'm a fucking loser. I'm like, bro, we are the same age, all right? Like, if you think
This is the level 1 talk.
I gave him the level 1 talk, right? I'm like, look, I'm gonna retire this year. Like, I'm done. Like, I never have to fucking work ever again. But you're still begging money every single stream to pay your electric, to pay your gas, to pay your water bill, to pay your rent. I go, like, in the terms of gaming, DSP, I have beaten the game. I'm done with it. You're still on level 1. You're still on level 1, right? So I was trying to give him. I was trying to give him a pep talk to stop this streaming shit and go get a real job because he's not.
Which is never going to happen. But let's read a little bit into that. So, how does it feel? I want you guys to take this into consideration. How does it feel to do something for fucking 15 years and don't have shit to show for it? And you're essentially starting off at level 1, if you will, with someone who's day 1 on their own YouTube channel and going through the same trials and tribulations that anybody else who just started a YouTube channel today, yesterday, a month ago is dealing with. How must you feel? And then think about the advantages that you've had, ladies and gentlemen. Let me try to paint the picture a little bit so I'm not making Darksydephil look like the complete and total fucking loser that he actually is. You've been on the platform for over 15 years, or damn near 15 years, or whatever the case may be. You have 3 channels that are over 20,000 subs. Let's just be with that. You know what I'm saying? Your name is out there, for good or bad. A lot of bad. A whole lot of worse. It's a travesty, really. And yet, you're begging for $150 a stream, $300 a day. That's what you feel is owed to you for the time that you've been online. The $2 million plus that you've made in previous years, you don't have shit to show for it. Why do I say that, ladies and gentlemen? Because he owns nothing. He has nothing in savings. He has nothing invested. He don't own his car. He don't own his condo. He really don't have any ownership over his wife. He owns nothing. He owns nothing. And for all we know, the very debt that he was able to squirm himself away from in the bankruptcy, he's just reoccurring it right now as we speak. The man has nothing. He owns nothing. He, as it pertains to the platform of YouTube, he knows nothing. Just like how he don't know or understand shit on Twitch. He was flying by the seat of his piss-stained pants, and he got away with doing the bare minimum, so he kept doing it. Remember what DSP's main... For any of you guys who know your lore, you guys remember what DSP's main argument was with the vlogging community back in the day? His main problem was, you guys are all vloggers, and now you guys are only coming over the gaming because that's where the money's at. That's where the profitability's at. And you're going to fuck it up for everybody else who's supposedly passionate about gaming, and you're going to screw that up. Because you guys are going to come in with your groups of friends and whatever. You guys are going to come in with the high production value and everything like that. And you're going to mess it up for the little guy like me. So instead of DSP looking at that as a challenge, on top of looking at this as an opportunity to... because you're going to have more eyes on the gaming landscape. And now he has something that he can look at and see that's successful, and he can try to... match in some type of way, shape, or form. He looked at it as a deficit. He immediately looked at it as a negative. And what did he spend the better part of his time doing? Trying to shit on it. Trying to tear those other content creators down. Try to cut at the validity of these people and whatnot. Why are you guys supporting their content? They already get millions of views on their vlogging channel. Why are you supporting their gaming stuff? They're not real gamers. They're terrible at it. They're only over here because they can profit from vlogging. Or sorry, they can profit from gaming. They make a boatload of money in vlogging. Why are you guys supporting them? This is something that DSP said on almost a semi-regular basis. He was always looking for a new content creator who was popular or successful to tear down. And all it did is make him look even more spiteful. And it also made him look desperate. Because as his views kept dropping back in those days, right? This is long before, quote unquote, the false copyright strikes and all that back in 2015. This is before all that. The 2015 situation. He was shitting on all these people and his views were already tanking. And him just going ahead and inundating all these people's sub boxes and just putting spam out into the fucking YouTube ether was only hurting him. That's why his sub count never really went up, and that's why the views gradually got smaller and smaller and smaller. And I said this some years ago, but if you really go back and look at some of those playthroughs, it's like the first five videos of a playthrough and maybe the last 4 or 5 at the end of the playthrough, and that's where the views were. Everything else was dead weight. Everything else was dead weight, and with each playthrough, the views got lower and lower for the most part. This plus and minus some outliers, and that's what makes Darksydephil's career. And see, here's the thing: he keeps saying that people won't give him a chance, people won't give him an opportunity to change. As it pertains to YouTube, you're already behind the times. They still have his channel, quote unquote, stuck back in the 2010s. He would have to make real strides to make himself relevant again. You're talking about videos that have to be 50,000 to 100,000 each video if he's really going to get some traction, just to get back to where he was, in 2012, 2014, or even 15, if you will. And that's never going to happen, clearly. The landscape has changed. There's way too many people to compete with. So when people like Keemstar, whether he's going to exploit you or not, which that's just kind of the narrative in business, if he throws you out a lifeline, you should have weighed your options on that. But he didn't. DSP wanted to play off emotion. And look at where his emotions have gotten him over the years. Look at where it's brought him at now. There's not too many people who has a name, for good or bad, where people are willing to throw hard cash at you to put you in a position to do something. There's no pride there. There's no code. He's just spiteful. He's just a spiteful little man who thinks he can still claw his way up to the top. In the same ways of Spoonie in a lot of ways. But supposedly Spoonie's kind of getting better. I don't know. I'll try to jump back into that and see what's up with Spoonie. But there are people out there that actually have hope for Spoonie 1, who want to see him be better. He may not get back to where he was, but to be better, because he's been down for so long. You're not going to see something like that from DSP. He's not going to get a redemption arc like that.
Here. Right? So that went back and forth. He blocked me, A couple months go by. And I start really thinking about this. I'm like, there's a whole economy of people that make videos on DSP, right? If you go search up DSP, good luck finding his channel. You're going to find people making fun of him. That's all you're going to find. There's a whole economy based on clipping him and making fun of him. Same thing with Wings Redemption. Same thing with Boogie, pretty much. All of them are in financial hardships. They all need money. They're lolcows, right? So I had this idea. I was like, okay, I know a thing or two about podcasts. Why don't I launch a new podcast? I'll own 25% of the brand. DSP will own 25% of the brand. Wings will own 25% of the brand. And Boogie will own 25% of the brand. I won't be a host, but I'll just run shit behind the scenes, and I'll finance this, and I'll call it the Lol Cow Podcast. Imagine if you had Wings of Redemption, DSP, and Boogie 2988, the crazy takes you in here on an hour podcast once a week. You would tune in to see what the is happening. Plus, you have all these haters and the little fans that they have. They're tuning in to watch this. This would be a success. And I guaranteed for the first year that this podcast would be out that each one of them would make $50,000. I hit up Wings of Redemption, and he's like, I am down. I hit up Boogie2988, and he's like, I'm down. I hit up DSP, and he goes, I'll get back to you on that. So
that's so insane.
Oh
because,
boy. Okay, I want to bring that whole segment back for you, just so you can hear it again, just so you get where I'm coming from with this. But the opportunity. Oh boy. Sorry. I want to make sure I get this clip right where I want it. I want to make sure I get it right where I want it.
He blocked me. A couple months go by.
That's perfect.
And I start really
right there, Birdman, with the you know what I'm saying, with the hand rubs. Okay, so Keem says that hey, there's a whole economy around these guys, clip channels, the tractor commentary channels, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole fucking economy behind this shit. There's a whole financial institute that is essentially around all three of these locales and shit. And all you guys are broke. I put you guys on a podcast, throw you guys a bit of money. Not gonna say a little bit of money because $150,000 isn't obviously a little bit of money. But I'm gonna throw you guys some money. I'll give you guys a little bit of ownership. You guys show up once a week for an hour. Act like the Spurgs that you guys are, and we're gonna roll in it. It'd probably be longer than an hour. It would have to be like an hour, and then you would think there'd be another hour for excuse me, there'd be another hour for like super chats, like what Josh does from Mad at the Internet, or Nick Ricada does at the end of his show, or what Medicare used to do at the end of his show, stuff like that. So I would assume it'd actually be like 2 hours, but these other guys don't necessarily need to be there for it, but they kind of do. So let's say it's actually been a 2-hour show, or at least an hour and a half. Let's say that. Because you got to read the super chats and all that stuff and whatnot. That right there is Keemstar trying to profit off of those audiences. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, I'm going to bring all of your guys' favorite lolcows into one spot where you guys can throw shekels at them and make fun of them and hear them say stupid shit. But I'm also going to insert advertisements like SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company. Hard Snorts Gin and Tonic, the toxic flavor that never waver. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? Tim Snortons, and I can go down the line. And maybe one of these things catches your eye. Maybe one of these things is like, hey, I might want to go ahead and see what the upcoming cards coming up for Keemstar's boxing program. I may want to get that pay-per-view or whatever the case may be, or buy in on that. Depending on where the event will be at. Or maybe I want to check out another podcast that Keem has that he just promoted, or whatever the case may be. We're playing percentages here, right? And that's all you need. If Keem is starting up something new, if he's trying to do something fresh, and especially trying to do it with new people, you advertise where the bulk of your viewership is. And then it branches out. So let's call a spade, ladies and gentlemen. The Lolcow podcast was going to be used to help expand his reach into other projects that he has, which is no big deal. It's no problem. That's how it works. But these guys were going to get their money on the front end and on the back end. You know what I'm saying? There was money to be made. And DSP wanting to be the odd man out doesn't really come to a surprise to me, because yet again, he doesn't want to slum for Keem. He doesn't want to be in a situation that he can't control. He doesn't want to show up to a 9 to 5, even though that's all he does anyway, and have to answer to someone else. And more importantly, if he can fuck over Boogie and Wings, which I think he purposely did, I honestly think in my heart of hearts that I think DSP got off on the idea that, oh, well, these guys making 50 grand is hinged on me? On me? Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Because he has resentment for Wings. We already know that. I don't know so much about Boogie, but certainly about Wings. So if he can fuck Wings out of 50 grand, what's stopping him? And if Wings has already agreed to it, Wings might need the money. So DSP can kind of fuck him over on that too. You telling me DSP wouldn't get off on that? This guy scours the internet for his bottom bitch podcast to give you guys news reports and shit like that, right? But really, it's really just reporting on other people, if you want to call it reporting. It's really just him talking about all the negative shit on the internet that he can find that he's interested in. What makes him any different than Keemstar back in the day or even now? What makes him any different than Rich? What makes him any different than anybody else who does drama? There is no difference. None whatsoever. But here's the point. This, like any deal, like any business deal, business arrangement, partnership, or whatever, it's a give or take. It's a give or take. And Keem was probably going to get a whole lot more out of this deal than those guys were. But it doesn't matter. It's still a give or take. And though the best deal is a deal that is mutually beneficial for both parties, or all parties involved, I should say. Sadly, that's not how capitalism works. And that's not how business works. There's always going to someone get fucked over. On a smaller level, everything can be evened out. But when you get into real big money, someone's bound to take a hit. Sadly. But even still, with what you guys heard and what I've said, does it sound like a bad deal to you? Getting 50 grand, show up once a week for about an hour and a half. You talk the dumb shit that you're already known for talking for, and then you move on. If you really think about it, let's take the current situation. Let me paint you guys a picture of our current landscape. Between DSP's reactionary content, which isn't going to last long, but he devotes 1 day a week to that. Between the dead, raw, fucking uncured, uncut bacon that he puts out there, that people are starting to lose more and more. That I wouldn't say people are starting to, but it's starting to get more and more boring. And then between this podcast here, DSP can afford to take 2 or 3 days off a week now. No? Now, he can have his regular day off. He can have a short day where he only shows up to do his Bottom Bitch podcast. Then he jumps over here on this podcast with Keem, Boogie, and Wings. And then he's done for the day. And then he has a third day where he can literally take the whole day off. Or he can go ahead and work on his Patreon, his Only Snorts from Patreon. And he can work on those and have those out in a timely manner. And then he still has his 4 days of lame-ass gameplay that will still be provided. You can't tell me that he doesn't have the time to do this. But here's what's even more important I want to ask you. When the reactionary content fails, as it will inevitably will, and people ask him, hey, since you're not doing the reactionary content anymore, can you do the edited content? Or can we do more stuff on the gaming side? I guarantee you the first thing that comes out of his snout is says, I don't have time to do that. No, I can't do that. Where am I going to find the time to do that? I guarantee you. When this reactionary shit starts to really falter, watch how, oh, well, you know how I usually do once a week DSP versus the internet? Oh, we're going to skip that because there's a hot new release coming out. So I don't have time to really do that. We're going to skip this week. I'll give you guys a double episode next week. And then it becomes, you skip in 1 week till we skip 3 weeks. 3 weeks, now we skip in like a month. Oh, I would go back to it, guys, but there's so much support over here on DSP Gaming that I just don't have time to go back and do the reactionary content. On top of the fact that more and more people are going to my Patreon, so I got to get that together. I just don't have time to do it. But he can't explain to you that the time he used to set aside for the reactionary content, he'll never explain to you why can't he use it over here on DSP Gaming or whatever he's currently doing. He'll never really explain that to you. He'll just tell you he can't do it. Keep that in mind.
Thinking about this, I'm like, there's a whole economy of people that make videos on DSP, right? Like if you go search up DSP, good luck finding his channel. You're going to find people making fun of him. That's all you're going to find. Like there's a whole economy based on clipping him and making fun of him. Same thing with Wings Redemption. Same thing with Boogie, pretty much. All of them are in financial hardships. They all need money. They're lol cows, right? So I had this idea. I was like, okay, I know a thing or two about podcasts. Why don't I launch a new podcast? I'll own 25% of the brand. DSP will own 25% of the brand. Wings will own 25% of the brand. And Boogie will own 25% of the brand. I won't be a host, but I'll just run shit behind the scenes and I'll finance this and I'll call it the Lol Cow Podcast. Imagine if you had Wings of Redemption, DSP, and Boogie 2988, the crazy fucking takes you would hear on an hour fucking podcast once a week. You would tune in to see what the fuck is happening. Plus, you have all these fucking haters and the little fans that they have. They're tuning in to watch this. This would be a fucking success. And I guaranteed for the first year that this podcast would be out, that each one of them would make $50,000. I hit up Wings of Redemption and he's like, I am down. I hit up Boogie 2988 and he's like, I'm down. I hit up DSP and he goes, I'll get back to you on that. So
that's so insane because, like, okay, so again, going to the...
All right, one more thing before Mutahar jumps in. You remember when he just said, I guarantee you within the first year that you guys will get $50,000. Now I'm starting to think, just off that he wasn't planning on paying them $50,000 out of his pocket. He could, but I don't think he was going to do that now. And that kind of makes sense because most people who are business inclined, you very rarely put your own money in. You use investment money. You use sponsorships, use investor money, use endorsement money. That makes a little bit more sense now that I think about it. I'm not saying that these guys wouldn't have gotten their money. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that $50,000 sign-on bonus doesn't mean it's up front, which means no one can run out on the plug. It's what keeps people committed. And especially with 3 lol cows aren't trustworthy, so let's be honest. Excuse me. That makes more sense. That makes a lot more sense that sponsorships, endorsements, and investors to the actual podcast are the ones that would actually have put up the money, the $150,000 for the sign-on bonus within the first year. That makes a little bit more sense because that's what keeps them chained to the show. I hate to say it in such a way, but you know what I mean. That makes a little bit more sense. That makes a little bit more sense. Okay. All right, cool. All right. Yeah, that makes more sense now that I think about it.
The thing that would make that podcast super successful is the same reason why Andrew Tate and like Joe Rogan are really successful, is because you see clips of them everywhere. You could imagine if you asked DSP about his thoughts on like the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, bro, he'd say some of the wildest shit you could imagine, and that would have been clipped and trending all over TikTok and Shorts, and people would be jumping into. And that's actually a great point.
It starts to turn into an arms race on who gets clips, and not only who gets the clips, but where they put them. Because as Mutahar said, it's bigger than YouTube now. You got YouTube, you have what they call it, live stream fails. You have TikTok, you have Instagram, you have Twitter. You know what I'm saying? You have all these different places you can put those clips at. It's all free advertising anyway, right? So why not? All right, here, let me bring that back. So it makes sense.
That's so insane because, like, okay, so again, going to the haters argument, the thing that would make that podcast super successful is the same reason why Andrew Tate and like Joe Rogan are really successful, is because you see clips of them everywhere. You could imagine if you asked DSP about his thoughts on like the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, bro, he'd say some of the wildest shit you could imagine, and that would have been clipped and trending all over TikTok and Shorts, and people would be jumping in to watch that. It's insane why he didn't jump into that idea.
So I'm able to get on the phone with Boogie, talk to Wings of Redemption, all right? Mm-hmm. And I'm got this like, I'll talk to you later about this from DSP. Over the course of like a month, we're playing phone tag. We have agreed times where we're going to get on the phone. I get on the phone with him. He's like, I'm at work right now. I'm streaming. Like, you know, like...
I'm at work right now.
Dude,
that shit is kind of funny. I have to say, though, you may have to curve your expectations on shit. What does Piece of Peace say? Like you need to not curve. He says that you need to temper your expectations. I would have to say you'd have to curve your expectations on the type of mileage you would get out of DSP. It sounds real good initially, right? That DSP is going to have all these crazy uninformed takes and everything like that. It's just going to be super hilarious, and it will, but it depends on how the questions are posed to him, right? Like, he can hear the question, right? But it depends on how the question's actually presented to him, or how it's posed to him, if that makes sense. So let me give you an example. Snow Carl, right? A lot of the questions some of the questions that Snow Carl asks are a question that someone else has asked. It's just Snow Carl has reworded it, or he's rephrased it a different way, I should say. So that's really how you get DSP saying some dumb shit. Snow Carl allows, and trust me when I say this, I've never met Snow Carl, I've never talked to him or anything like that, so I don't have any reason to praise the guy. But he does phrase his questions in such a way to where he can phrase his questions, I should say, and being aggressive to get DSP to get even more aggressive, or he can phrase his questions in such a way to give Phil a false sense of superiority, to give him to make the question be a bit more drawn out, which betters the chance of DSP saying something that he probably shouldn't. It's all in how you word it. It really is. A Snow Carl, Third Eye the Third, those guys are fantastic at it. It's all in how you word it to DSP. Boogie will eventually figure that out. I think Wings kind of knows, but he probably doesn't want to do anything to rock the boat, because for whatever reason, Wings has this. He has all of the qualifications of a true DSP believer without actually giving him money. And I know that sounds really weird, but literally Wings has all of the qualities that DSP would look at in a hardcore fan, but except for Wings never gives him any money. Like, Wings is damn near perfect for that role. Damn near. Something to think about. Just something to think about.
Baffled what's happening. So I would tune into his streams, and he's like, guys, I can't pay rent this month. We need to get the donations up, and I can't believe guys, I really need your help this month. Like, he's going into the bagging where I'm about to give him 50 grand. Well, he won't have to bag anymore. He could just stream. I'm about to give him $50,000.
Okay, so in the DSP rebuttal, I'm going to state this just because he's not here, and this is based on his phrasing. He didn't want your money because he believes it to be blood money made off of drama farming. Which is hilarious, by the way. Hilarious, by the way, given who he is. The other big boon, the other big thing about it. Shit, I'm trying to. That first bombshell is so fucking massive. You just had blood money off of fucking drama farming. I gotta really remember the other piece. Jesus Christ, it's it escaped my mind. But that was one of the things.
What I realized through this process.
Yeah, it's internet blood money. Sure it is. Sure it is, but let's weigh out. Let's put this on the scales of on a scale of equilibrium, ladies and gentlemen. Would you rather take disability checks from people who really need this money, or would you or take money from people who have filed for bankruptcy multiple times? Take money from people who can't even afford a car. They have to keep putting they're putting not even a dream car, like a car, just a car to get the fucking work and home, or work, school, and home. You got people who can't even afford a car because they need to donate to you. You got people who can barely pay their bills. You got people who go up there on DSP streams and say, "I'd like to donate to you, Phil, but I'm in a bad spot right now financially, man," or maybe next week or whatever. First off, if you are such in a financial situation, right, where you can't donate, then and hear me out, I'm not trying to go the Bad Bunny route, but if you're in a financial rut where you just have no money to donate, and that's fine, maybe how do you find time to watch all this content? Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why aren't you out there actually doing something to further yourself, right? Like that should just make sense, right? If you have no money for recreation, which I guess you could consider that recreation, then, truth be told, how much time are you spending watching whatever content you're watching, and why are you watching so much of it? That's the first thing. You don't work for DSP, so I'm not telling you to throw him hundreds of dollars. I'm very much against that. but you should never tell anybody on the internet to do what they want with their money. Do what you want. I'm just gonna laugh at you for it. But if you're saving up for something and you're dipping into the savings for that to give the DSP, then don't you think you're spending entirely too much time watching DSP? If you filed for bankruptcy 3 fucking times, clearly you fucked up in your life. Clearly you've made some big mistakes. But yet you still find time to give this dumbass money? I can't remember who it was, or maybe someone just made a joke about it, but I swore someone said this dude had not Planet Jeff, because we already know what he did with his dead wife's insurance money. But one of these guys was giving money to DSP, and he was needing to save that for braces. And I can't remember if it was for himself or for one of his kids. And I thought that shit was a goddamn travesty. But point being, do for self. Take care of yourself first. Handle your shit first. Handle your obligations. Handle your wants. Handle your needs. Long before you give anything to this dumbass. And if you can't handle your own wants, needs, or financial or obligations, you're probably spending entirely too much time watching this dumbass. And keep in mind, you don't even need to watch this dumbass. You can have him played in the background. His gameplay videos are all fucking dead air for the most part anyway. You think every person who watches the videos that I put out actually watch it? They're usually listening into the back. They're listening to it in the background while multitasking, doing other stuff, because life continues to move forward. Just because DSP expects you to stop, throw everything to the side to sit there and watch his shitty content doesn't mean everybody else should. And the fact that if he really thinks that's the expectation, or if that's really the expectation that he places upon you, you yourself should feel like there's something wrong with that. No content creator that you watch or you listen to, or whatever the case may be, should ever feel the need to put you in jeopardy to keep them going. Like, I'm pretty confident that's common sense. And this is coming from someone who's an absolute fucking asshole. So if I would say that and mean it, then what is DSP not telling you? What is he not getting across to you? If he needs so much goddamn help to keep his business going, then doesn't he need all of you guys to be at your tip-top best so you can contribute as much money as you can to him while not putting yourself in financial jeopardy? Matter of fact, do you ever notice that when people ask for donations, right? Or they ask you to contribute, or they give the option to, they always say, don't give money that you can't afford to give away. And most of them say it rather frequently, because it's something that needs to be said, especially in the current internet landscape. How many times has DSP said that? He said it a few times when he's been called out on it, but how many times has he really said it and meant it? I want you to think about that. He's quick to tell you how he didn't have enough donations last week, or a couple of days ago, or on the last playthrough. But when has he ever told you, hey guys, excuse me, I really could use the help right now, but don't give what you can't afford to give. Do not put yourself in jeopardy to try to help me. If you have it, I would appreciate it. But if you don't, no worries. Think about that.
Is that DSP doesn't necessarily want money. He doesn't necessarily want a bunch of money, all right? What he wants to maintain is this small audience and him begging for money. Like, he is in the system where it's like a couple weeks, like, hey, the donations are down, and like, he's addicted to this, to the begging for money.
Actually, I don't even know if that video's out yet where I say that. Fuck. That's... Now the disappointment sets in. Now the disappointment sets in. But I'm not sure if the video's out yet. If it is, great. If it's not, then womp womp. But I had said he's addicted to begging. He's addicted to the ways the situation is. Being constantly in distress. Constantly being in turmoil. he can't give that up. Just like his spending addiction, just like the WWE championship, just like his alcoholism, begging has just become another. It's another habit. It's another cog in the system. It really is. Damn, I don't know if the video's. I just don't know if the actual video's out yet where I actually make that argument. So I don't. Fuck. Well, it's all in the small victories, I suppose. But it's nice to see that other people see it. Is what the point I'm trying to make. It's nice to have that. But because it's not too hard to tell. You know what I'm saying? But then again, I mean, when you give DSP money, you're not just contributing to him, but it's validation, right? It feeds his ego to give him that, and he may be addicted to that too. But he's definitely addicted to begging. I won't say I'll concede, but I can see how it feeds his ego, right? And it makes him feel like he's wanted, or he's valued, or he's respected. All things that he really isn't. But he is addicted to begging. He is addicted to begging. Timing's everything, ladies and gentlemen.
Doesn't necessarily want money. He doesn't necessarily want a bunch of money, all right? What he wants to maintain is this small audience and him begging for money. Like, he is in the system where it's like a couple weeks, like, hey, the donations are down and like, he's addicted to this, to the begging for money, to the uploading the videos with the sad stories, and you know, like he's caught in a fucking mental loop of being a victim of the haters and the people coming after him and attacking him, and like, it's weird. If you went up to that dude and said, hey, I'll give you fucking 50 grand right now,
you know what's
all you have to do is stop streaming and go get a real job, he would say no. He would actually say no.
But,
even though that $50,000, let's make it $100,000. Even though that $100,000 would take care of him for 3 years, right? Where he'd be able to save money and, you know, get a real job. And, you know, even though that would be the case, he would say no.
The thing with DSP, and now that I'm fucking remembering,
and yet again, it also kind of comes down to the same situation with Rich, where he doesn't want to feel like he's beholden to anybody, especially someone who knows him, who knows his bullshit, who knows him for the person that he really is. That's why he was so fixated on Moist Critical, even though Moist Critical admitted, I watched a good amount of detractor content. DSP still thought he could somehow sway his what's the word I'm looking for? He could sway his opinion of him, or even his thought process in some way, right? Like, yeah, you've heard of me, you've laughed at me as a meme, but you don't know enough lore about me and whatnot, so I can probably sway you one way or another. I think that's what DSP really thought was going to happen, and obviously it didn't. But that's why, you know, DSP is very selective on who interviews him. He doesn't want someone who knows him. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of people that could have interviewed DSP, and who I believe would have been fair. It's a Gundam, Knoll, Medicare. They're all going to have their laughs at him, certainly, but these are people who I think would have been fair. They've definitely been a lot more fair than I would have. Please believe. But these people could have been fair. And these people, I don't know if I'd say they would, and they may have been able to sympathize with how pitiful he is. I think they could have sympathized with him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they curved some of their questions a little bit. Maybe they curved some of the banter. Maybe. But I still think they would have been fair. But they all know too much. You know what I'm saying? They all know too much. You know what I'm saying? They've been on the field. They've been on the coast of Gouty, Normandy and shit. They've already shot down a fair amount of dents. They got too much blood on their hands. They got way too much internet blood on their hands to be doing that shit. Like, oh, any of you guys have anything over 10,000 views or more? Nope, not at all. That's not going to work. That's not going to play out. You know what I'm saying? They've seen they've seen too much tragedy in the Gouty wars. They can't. There's no way that they could. I guess DSP would think that they could be impartial, which I think is not true. I think it shows what kind of person DSP is, because let's be honest, and you're going to find out in some of these bullshit reacts on some of these people who he's really targeting, like Pro Jared is going to be the next one or whatever. I'm actually interested in sitting down and watching that. You're going to find that he's going to shit on that guy every chance he gets, and even though that Pro Jared situation is done and over with, you're going to find that whatever it's going on in that, he's going to grab hold of it and he's going to try to keep it all the way up to the very end. And truth be told, he's going to preface that video, or he's going to pregame that video, or he's going to screen that video. So he's going to know what parts that he really wants to shit on and what parts he's going to be passive of. Mark my words. Because he did the same thing with the John and Howard shit. That's why he had whoever it was who edited it. That's why he had them edit the video, and then he could go through it beforehand and see what's what. Before he can, so this way he can lay his arguments down or whatever the case may be. DSP is not going to walk into any type of situation that could put him at a disadvantage, i.e. make him look stupid. So I guarantee you that Pro Jared video, he's prefaced it. I guarantee it. The pre-snorts are already in. So it's not, a reaction is a reaction, but trust me, he's walking into that shit with a motive. That's why he wanted that damn thing so bad.
Pretty well. When you gave him the level 1 talk, there was an entire clip on his, he made a whole podcast, by the way. Podcast being, him talking to the camera for, an hour and a half. So it's not really a podcast, it's just whatever. He called it the level 1 podcast. It's a
glorified therapy session. It's okay, Mutahar. I'll say it for you if you can't. It's a glorified fucking therapy session. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. It's a fucking echo chamber, listen to me and my problems and shit. Anybody who has an opposing opinion to me, lean in, manual fucking ban. You know what I'm saying? There is no opportunity for a conversation or some type of discourse or whatever the case may be. It's either you know what I'm saying, you go with me and you go with what I'm saying, or get the fuck out. And he's right. That's not a podcast. It's not a podcast if it's just a glorified echo chamber.
And he's like, Keem, you look down on people who haven't been successful and made millions of dollars. And it's like, no, dumbass, you do the same thing. You look down on other people for not being as hardworking as a streamer like you too. It's like, I have never seen somebody take.
Exactly. DSP makes it sound like he's the hardest working person in gaming and shit. And all these other people, what did DSP say? Oh, if you stream once a day and put out a video or two, isn't a full day's worth of fucking work. Says who? Says who? You want to know why those people can do that? Because they're in a position to do that. You want to know why DSP has to, for all of you who like to say he's consistent, right? And whatnot, or whatever the case may be. You want to know why he has to be there 12 hours? I can't even say it. He wants to be there 12 hours a fucking day, 6 days a week, because he ain't got no fucking choice. Because he's a fucking bum. And he has no choice but to do that. And he's got all these detractors, trolls, haters, and critics out here making money off him. Passive income, if you really think about it. Well, no, I can't even say passive income, because to sit there, whether you're behind the mic talking or you're sitting there and you have to go through one of his videos or a Dark Dave Mirrors or a Raw DSP and actually go through and find the clips you want, that still requires time and pieces of your sanity that you're never going to get back. It requires a lot to make all that shit happen, but you know what I mean. But you could say, but whatever. The people that are making something off of that and shit, right? That shit bothers him. It bothers him that it takes that much, that they put their effort and they can concentrate it in such a way to where it can be profitable, whether in the short term or in the long term, and he sees none of it. And it's usually off of his stupidity. And if he didn't take himself so goddamn seriously, he might get a piece of that. Or he could do better on his own platform, but he can't, and he won't. And that's why his dumbass is where he's at now. But it's everybody's fault but his, right? Everybody else screwed him over. Everybody else tried to make him into a lol cow. Everybody else put him in this bad spot.
No, dumbass, you do the same thing. You look down on other people for not being as hardworking of the streamer like you too. It's like I have never seen somebody take like that so wrong, because it's like, listen, at the end of the day, like, you're right. Like, if he hasn't done shit now at his age through YouTube, he's just a idiot, because he's made enough money to have done something.
Yeah, I'm roasting him, but I'm also giving him advice. You know, I'm roasting him, saying you're still at level 1 in this game of life, right? And we're the same age, and like I beat the game, right? I'm roasting him, making fun of him, but I'm also giving him advice. Like, why do you keep doing the same thing? Why do you just like restart the level? Hey guys, I need money to pay my water bill. Like, why are you playing level 1 over and over again? This ain't working. Move on to level 2 and do something else to try to find some success. Go get a job at Home Depot or something, and then do the streaming thing for fun, for extra side cash.
Dude, it's hilarious when you say extra side cash, because there's one, so like his haters, he's made so many haters now that some of them have become like certified like CPA accountants, no joke. Like, I'm not even f***ing with you on this one. They have tabulated every single penny that this dude has made per year. Bro makes 6 figures a year, and he's still in like the worst financial shape I've ever seen. Like, this is not like somebody who's like,
God.
No,
Dude,
like this is somebody that's financially.
I just hear the tidbits from this podcast.
Dude,
oh my God.
Bro, he filed bankruptcy. And I don't know a lot of details about it, but it's in reference to something that Muta already said. It was something about him spending thousands and thousands of dollars on fucking skins in like a wrestling game or something. Like, how fucked up in the head are you? Right?
Now, let me bring this back. Okay, now clearly he doesn't have all the details on that, and he's admitted as such. He doesn't have all the details on it. But to Keem, as it pertains to mobile games or whatever, he thinks it's just all microtransactions. You know what I'm saying? And which is ludicrous. It's dumb to toss any real substantial amount of money in microtransactions. I mean, if you're really enjoying the game or whatever, then that's up to you, I suppose. But it seems kind of silly to do that, right? For most people, depending on what you're into and what you like. But when, you're begging for money to take care of your normal bills, but you're tanking all of your money into a mobile game, is crazy. The point being I'm trying to make is that though he doesn't have, he fumbled the ball a little bit on it being skins for a WWE Championship game, the general thought is still there. You're throwing a bunch of money at a mobile game, which is just really fucking retarded, and you're not getting really anything out of it, because if they shut that game down tomorrow, you're fucked. You're proper fucked. And now, people used to make that complaint about mobile games, but truth be told, it's starting to get like that with your larger games too. You can tank a lot of money into some of these larger quote unquote AAA games, and if the support for that game ends in another year or so, or within a year, you've lost all that money. You're not getting it back. But it is a minor detail. But yet again, you can't expect everybody to be up on everything, and that's the reason why I'm sure there's people in the comment section of this video who went ahead and adjusted it, and whatever the case may be. And the reason why I bring this up, because I'm sure someone has brought it up, is it's little tidbits like this that if DSP ever is man enough to actually address this, will say, oh, they got it wrong. They said I used it on skins. He'll take that little piece and try to fight with it, or try to fight off of it, which is ironic, because doesn't he say that his detractors, trolls, haters, and critics do the same thing? Give me just a second. Boy, got some SnortBucks being delivered. Yeah. Anyway, so anyway, you can DSP will take that one detail and he'll run with it, but ironically enough, he'll accuse his detractors, trolls, haters, and critics for doing the exact same thing. So how the fuck are you supposed to be better than the people who shit on you all day when you do the exact same thing, allegedly, that they do? What sense does that make? Like, it's very clear that leading by example was never something that happened in the Brunel household. But because they had to handle his ass with kid gloves, quite literally, it explains really why he is the way he is. And how, in a lot of ways, he expects grown-ass people that he don't even know to handle him in the exact same way. Which is just weird. It's just really, really weird. And then one more thing. And then how he tries to motivate people. Like, it's always in a challenging sort of way. Like what he says about the, about when he was trying to get the interview. Oh, you guys watched all this tractor content and this, that, and the third, and no one wanted to give me a fair shake. Well, I dare you to be man enough to shut the fuck up. You don't dare anybody to do not a goddamn thing. You take a number and you wait in fucking line. That's what you do. You're going to try to go after the entire fucking internet because they had a laugh at your expense? Stop acting like a fucking idiot. You say you're a mature adult, right? Then act like a grown-ass fucking man. But you're not there yet. You may never get there. You're too weak and you're too stupid. So of course, people like this are going to make fun of you. None of these three guys up here are hurting for money. None of these three guys are begging for money. None of these three guys will probably ever be in a position to where they're forced to do something day in, day out, and people have the misconception that, oh, well, at least they're consistent. No one's going to have the misconception of consistency. There's a difference between having actual pride, which DSP don't have, in your job, and loving what you do, another thing DSP don't have, and showing up on a consistent basis and putting out a quality product that people can respect you for. And then there's a difference between that and then you showing the fuck up because you ain't got no fucking choice. You showing the fuck up and taking whatever pennies and little shekels people can afford to throw at you because you ain't bled them years in advance and they ain't fucked themselves up trying to help you. There's a difference. And anybody who wants to say otherwise, they can cope all they want, but that's the truth. DSP is begging now. DSP was begging yesterday. DSP will be begging tomorrow. And that's just the way it is.
Bankruptcy. He filed bankruptcy. And I don't know a lot of details about it, but it's in reference to something that Muta already said. It was something about him spending thousands and thousands of dollars on skins in like a wrestling game or something. Like, how up in the head are you, right? That you're sitting there begging to get your rent paid for, and you're blowing all your money on skins in a video game.
His like credit is shit now because he got his credit card debt like forgiven in the bankruptcy filing, but like obviously he's never gonna have a good credit score the rest of his life, and like unless you have a shit ton of like cash, like that negates that. He doesn't obviously have that. He's kind of like screwed going forward. This is like somebody that's like, listen, they're just making the hill harder to climb, you know? Like they're kind of doing it, they're climbing day by day, but at some point it's going to get too hard to fucking climb and it's all crashing down and he has like no safety net around it, which is just like anytime you try to give the guy a bit of advice, it's just angry. It's just like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's an idiot. Or he looks down on you. Like, no, dumbass. Like, this is just realistic life advice that people are giving to you. In 5 years, you won't be able to do this, all right? Like, you're
exactly. And it comes from people who are already successful. So, like, for example, I had said previous in this broadcast that Wings and Boogie are working some type of shit out to have their own podcast or whatever the case may be. And I don't know if Keem is involved in it or not. Let's say Keem isn't. And they got a manager or whatever. And let's say DSP is even brought in on that. They could very well get finessed. But more importantly than that, there's no guarantee that it would have the type of publicity behind it, the type of PR and just the level of scope, if you will, or reach that dealing with Keem would. For all you know, you could easily get finessed out of your money. You hear that from Twitch streamers. I mean, you hear that from fucking different orgs. Esports orgs all the time. What's that dude's name? FaZe Rain was on a podcast or did an interview with another guy who I really enjoy his content, and he talked about how one of the CEOs for FaZe screwed the hell out of him, FaZe Banks, and a couple other people. And then he goes into a little bit more detail on the Tfue situation, on why the contract was set up that way and how fucked up that was. A lot of shit. It's a really interesting watch. If I find it, I'll ask someone to put it down in the description. If not, just look up the FaZe Rain interview, and it should pop up. It was recent. It was only in at the time I'm recording this, it was only like a day or two ago, some shit like that. But DSP, but let's say just Wings and Boogie. They have no clue on how the scenario for that podcast is going to go. There's no guarantee without the right type of publicity or PR work that it could ever really get off the ground, and they don't know. And who knows how they get, if they're going to get finessed out of a large chunk of the money. They have no clue. And not to say that, you know, Keemstar might end up finessing them in some way, shape, or form, because, excuse me, Keem's going to have a clip channel, and he's going to get the bulk of that. I would assume. I'm not sure if he's going to split it with Wings and Boogie and DSP, but if Keem has his own clip channel, which he will, if he's smart, he will, he's going to make a boatload of money off that, and you don't want it to turn into another, since I'm very reference heavy, frenemy situation with H3H3 and Trisha Paytas, and how, you know, she was getting a piece of the show, or she had a percentage of the show, or whatever the case may be, but then there was the clip channel that they had, aside from all the other clip channels that were out there, and there was a bunch of money being produced by that, or a bunch of money that was generating. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different ways of monetizing on YouTube and making shit like this happen and making it profitable. But because DSP don't know shit, because he don't want to know shit, and because he's willing to slap away everybody who tries to give him a handout, he's just going to end up just existing instead of actually surviving and maybe putting himself in a position to thrive. And that's what these guys are trying to tell him. Everybody sees how fucked up you are, and in your situation, and it's not going to get any better. And you're going to crash. You're going to crash hard. There's going to be a lot of people laughing at you when it happens. And yet, all these people are trying to throw a fucking lifesaver at him, really. And shit, even someone's trying to get a lifeboat down to you, and DSP would rather drown than take the help. And then here's the really fucked up part: if someone tried to jump in to actually get him, DSP would drown that person to keep himself afloat just a little bit longer. You don't believe me? Look at his own audience.
It's like with Boogie, right? Like when Boogie's like, I threw all my money into crypto. I'm like, bro, you're not like 20. You're not young anymore. You can't be doing these fucking gambles and then screwing yourself down into a hole.
Did you see he just tweeted yesterday like a whole "Eat the Rich" tweet? He's like,
Who?
Boogie. He had a wild take. He's like, all billionaires have to be evil because I was never even close to becoming a billionaire.
But as much criticism that you might
It kind of sounds like DSP too.
Boogie or Wings Redemption, like DSP is worse. He's far worse
objectively,
than them.
yeah.
Like when you talk to Wings or Boogie about like an opportunity where they can make money, they're ears open, like, what? Okay, I'm interested. You know what I mean? When you talk to DSP, it's like, no, like, you know what I mean? Like,
blood money, bro.
It's different. It's different. Sorry to. Am I cutting this short? I don't know how long this is.
No, this is about the right time.
Oh, okay, perfect.
No, right time.
I got a date with my girlfriend. We're going on the ATV trails to clean up all the sticks that have fallen through winter. It's like 60 here. It's nice, so we want to get out and get some sun.
You're doing some environmental work. Shit,
some manual labor on property.
Hell yeah!
Dude.
Something DSP won't do. I'll let this play out, and then I'll hit you with my final thought on that one.
This is after he's done looking down on the fucking plebs and level ones in society. Well, you know, I gotta head out too. So we're gonna kind of end it. I think we had a healthy discussion about aliens all the way up to like an alien of YouTube, really.
How weird is it that my idea of like recreation is going and doing physical labor, like doing yard work?
I feel a lot of people that are depressed on the internet, if they went out and just did some physical shit, they would be a lot happier, bro. I'll be real. Like I have a smile on my face when I'm out there mowing my fucking lawn or doing like the most basic
it's
shit
like
in the
so
world.
good. You feel so good going outside and doing work. Like it just.
Anyway. I had a buddy who's like, why don't you get like a landscaper? I'm like, why? I'll do it myself, dude.
Oh, I get that criticism all the time. People are shocked I mow my own lawn. I'm like, what?
It's like, what? Yeah, why? Why don't you?
It's fun.
Anyway. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, if you want to check.
All right, big ups on that. So big ups to Mutahar, Keem, and Nux. Big ups to Dix for getting that for me. It's kind of funny. It's really hilarious, to be honest with you. Because when DSP, for example, says that, you know, I'm behind the times and I fucked up and this, that, and the third, he really hasn't grasped He doesn't have a real grasp on how far behind he really is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got guys who started around the same time that he did after him, who have made it so much farther in life. In life. I'm not talking about their fucking little internet careers. I mean in life than he has. And DSP is going to die doing this. He's going to die doing this. He's going to have a heart attack on fucking stream or some dumb shit. Or he's going to end up reading Kiwi Farms one night, drunk off his fucking ass, and he's going to choke on his fucking own vial and whatnot because he got hit with some shit. You know, he got a stroke or whatever the case may be. Something terrible. I'm not wishing that on them. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, but what I am saying is that these are some of your real possibilities. These are some of the real things that are going to really fucking happen because he don't take care of himself physically, and he damn sure don't take care of himself mentally. No one can sit here and say that DSP doesn't watch detractor content. He clearly does. He doesn't have a pulse. He doesn't have his thumb on the pulse of it. But then again, he doesn't have his thumb on the pulse of anything. You know, pop culture, nothing else. And he's constantly telling you, oh, he knows what's going on and what's relevant, this, that, and the third. Bitch, life is bigger than what's trending on Twitter. The internet is bigger than what's trending on Twitter. And he don't know that. And he don't get that. And that's why he has to paint his detractors, trolls, haters, and critics as losers, and they're all in fucking discords all day and shit, or they're all talking shit about him all day, and they can't live without him and all that nonsense or whatever, because it's just another example of justifying his existence. Clearly. And that's really probably one of the most pathetic parts of all of it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, give me a chance to, convey my thoughts, I guess, before we convene. And I'll give you guys one more shot at it. And then I'll let you guys go. Let's see here. Oh fuck! I'll just play the song from the beginning. I'll see you guys in a second.
Welcome. Y'all forever last, I'm forever everlasting. Mashing on the gas, bypassing all the has-beens. In that sense, I'm that shit in that sense. Inhale it, breathe it, embrace it. Crepes is not as flat as you natives of fake is. So I take this and shine and provide illumination. But niggas stay in the dark and I'm starting to get impatient. 15 is the age of the teenager.
Alright, so what do we make of all this? Fun stuff to be had. It just goes to show, let's say, I don't know if that video went out or not, where I said I think DSP is addicted to begging, and let's just say that it isn't. Let's just say that it isn't out. The fact that a person that I don't talk to and I have no contact with, and you know, is not relevant in my existence in any type of way, shape, or form, nor am I in his, can come to the same conclusion is supposed to be, it should be one of the cool aspects of the internet in general. And then if you can have that within your own community without actually speaking to some of the members of your community, because you can't talk to everybody, that's a pretty cool aspect. You know what I'm saying? And we can all come to the same conclusion and do it in a very different way, or come to that conclusion in a different way. And it's another example of how DSP is poor in a lot of ways, in the fact that the interaction's there, but he don't want it. And if nothing else, he's so paranoid that he believes everybody's an undercover detractor anyway. Even if you give him money, he probably thinks you're a troll or whatever, or you're linked to a troll. And that's why the Gouty Gestapo exists, because all of you who are DSP fans who are over there and shit, whether you give him money or not, you're being watched by somebody else that's over there. It's always been that way, and it'll always be that way. So keep that in mind. And with that being said, and DSP has shown that paranoia before he even got on the internet, to be honest. So the mistakes that he's made in IRL, he brought it with him onto the internet, and he's just continued with it on a much larger timeline. So when he should have been pressed in the FGC and he wasn't, he got away with it, right? When he was on his knees to Jaha and and sorry, what's his name? Mike Watson or Mike Watts? Not Watts. Sorry, Mike Watts is Marvel's Capcom 2. Mike Watson. When they pressed him and whatnot, and DSP sat there and cried and said that he was an alcoholic or whatever the case may be, and they let him walk. All he did was take that bad behavior and brought it to a whole nother median. And you see what the repercussions of it are. Him getting pressed and him probably getting knuckled up a little bit in that parking lot or in that ballroom or wherever it was, I think is a little bit different than him fucking his whole life up on YouTube, on Twitch, just on the internet in general. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he'll never be able to change how the internet perceives him. DSP is a shining example of, on a long enough timeline, you can commit suicide, digital suicide, in Minecraft multiple times, and no one will ever really want to see you thrive or see you get better or whatever the case may be. No one ever wants to see him resurrect or be reincarnated into something better. Everybody just wants to see how he offs himself the next time, and the next time, and the next time. In Minecraft, of course. And that's unfortunate. But that's what he strived for. This is the price that people pay to have the things the way they want. And for that, he has earned everything that's come to him. And sadly, probably a whole lot more. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. And I'll see you guys for the next one, whenever that may be. Hopefully sooner than later. This is the Snort Report. This is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. At GTG Network and Productions for the Snort Report, as well as SnortBucks Coffee Company, Hard Snorts Gin and Tonic, and 4-star Hulk Hogan SnortBucks Edition. I've been your host. Take care of yourselves, guys.
What shaped us, and to the sus, feel free to hate us. Unchained, untamed, fast lane and fat chain, and throw them on a playlist, label it the greatest. Unleaded premium, large, not medium. Say cheese, bitches body sees upon meeting us.